Hello there, and welcome to my channel. I hope you are doing amazing things with your writing, or at the very least, you are enjoying your writing journey. I do have a question for you, and that is, are you wondering, how to incorporate gritty realism into your crime fiction stories? If so, you are in the right place because that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. Hence the reason for the title of the video, but anyway. So, let's get right down to the topic of today's video, shall we? You know, of course we shall, and I will. As always, I start with number 1. Ground your story in real-world consequences. Well, how do you do that, you want to know? Well, you want to show the emotional toll that crime takes, and that's not just on the victims, but the police, the witnesses to the crime, the families of the victims, and perhaps maybe even the criminals themselves. Might be surprising to you. Example of this are a detective. Marriage collapses due to the cases consuming him, and he misses out on some of his children's lives, and he misses the anniversary dinners and stuff like that. Or maybe a victim takes their own life because they can't handle the trauma and sees that as the only way out. Perhaps the criminal feels guilty for what they do and has nightmares about their crimes. It does happen from time to time. Anyway, this works because it shows how crime drags people down into the gutter long after the case has been closed. Number 2. Show the bureaucracy and frustration of police work. To do this, maybe show endless paperwork and a sort of, dead-end leads or office politics. Maybe some detectives get promotions not based on merit, but based on who they know. You could also show this where the detective knows who committed the crime, but does not have enough solid evidence to bring to the prosecution team so they can potentially get a conviction in court. Because it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. Or perhaps there's a backlog in the lab. Anything at all that could cause this to happen, like a whole bunch of cases, like they've got 50 DNA things they have to check out. Anyway, your readers will then see and feel the grind of real police work. Number 3. Detect the banality of evil. Most criminals aren't the type who twirl their mustaches because that kind of hurts to do that, which probably why they don't do it anymore anyway. Often they are desperate because they couldn't hold a job, or they're pathetic because they never accomplished anything and blame others for their failures. Or simply the person could be casually cruel, like they don't feel another person's suffering is of any consequence to the world or themselves at all. Imagine this, in a way, as a drug dealer who volunteers at his son's school or tithes some of his ill-gotten gains to a charity. It could also be the hitman who simply sees their deeds as just another day's work. Carry my lunch pail, work boots, and, well, not my problem if somebody has to suffer. Anyway, this shows that real evil is often mundane, making it all the more chilling because it could be your neighbor, your coworker, your life partner, even your child. Or a brother, sister, or anything like that. Number 4. Show environments that feel lived in. You do this by making settings as gritty as your characters. This could be something like flickering lights or toilets that don't flush in rundown housing projects where every window tells a story of the person living there. The sensory detail, using all 5 senses, will show your readers the grime of the world and make them feel like they are there with the characters. And it's hell on earth. Number 5. Use imperfect dialogue. We don't speak with perfect grammar, or in other words, we'd probably make our English teachers have a cow with the way we talk. So, have your characters use foul language, like maybe drop an occasional F-bomb or 5 or 10 or 20. Watch an episode of The Sopranos for inspiration on how to do that. Anyway, you can also, if you'd like, have a character that would make your English teacher proud. This would show contrast, but don't overdo it to the point it becomes unbelievable. You can have your characters also speak in code, particularly the criminals. because the criminals would likely anticipate and believe that the police would have them under surveillance and potentially have their homes and their places of work and business bugged, and potentially have wiretaps on their phones if they use landlines, or have, especially if you have your story set in a time where they didn't have cell phones or they weren't ubiquitous and most people did have landlines. You can have your characters speak like real people. Will make them feel authentic. Number 6, show the financial and social struggles behind crime. While there are people who commit crime simply because they enjoy it and don't want a regular type life of barbecues and ball games, there are also those, realistically speaking and admittedly, who get into criminal activity due to real life pressure. This could be from job loss, medical or other debt, or anything that could put them in dire straits. An idea for this is a single mother who engages in identity theft so she can get enough money to pay the rent or pay for a child's life-saving operation. This will humanize the characters and not make your world feel completely cartoonish. Number 7, avoid clean violence. Unless you're writing a cozy mystery where the crimes happen off-screen, so to speak, show the violence in all its ugly chaos as opposed to being stylish like me. You can show this by having a gunfight resulting in ringing ears. One of the cops grabs his head in pain from it because his massive hearing damage for all the gunfights he's been in and stuff like that. Maybe the death doesn't happen instantaneously, and the dying person grabs the wound, trying to stop the blood from leaving their body, only knowing it's a vain attempt at saving their life. This will allow your readers to feel the impact of every blow instead of seeing violence as a spectacle. Number 8, let justice be murky. Maybe your story doesn't guarantee that the guilty are always punished or the innocent are always protected. Perhaps a drug bust gets thrown out on a technicality, or the family doesn't get closure because the criminal uses his friends in high places to shield them from the consequences. This could be like the son of a high-ranking politician who gets his child off, or something like that. Or you could have it like what happens in The Lovely Bones, where the murderer escaped, but he dies in a freak accident. You could also highlight the toll on mental health. Crime, particularly violent crime, is traumatic. Show your cops and victims suffering from PTSD, although it might be a good idea to avoid the cliche of the alcoholic cop. Perhaps have them addicted to something else, like sex, and they're always jumping from bed partner to bed partner, exercise, or anything along those lines. Anything that someone might use to numb their senses temporarily and use it as escape from the gritty crap they go through when they're investigating crime. You could also have your cops burnt out and numb because they've seen so much of the dark side of human nature, which is what gets them addicted to something. To show this, maybe your detective falls asleep on the job because he can't sleep at night. He only falls asleep on the job due to eventually the body will shut down and make him sleep, whether you want to or not. This works because often crime fiction glamorizes toughness. Realism will show readers what it costs. And finally, as always, number 10, layer in mundane details to contrast the darkness. Imagine your suspect eats some cold fries while being questioned by the cops, or just has a nonchalant attitude, or maybe the morgue clerk hums along to the latest pop song while playing on the radio. This will give some ordinary moments that contrast with the darkness, which will make it more believable. So, there you have it. My 10 ways to incorporate gritty realism into your crime fiction story. I hope this helps you with your own writing and that you liked the video. Have a great day, and a great week. I'll see you in 7 days. So long, everybody.